All right, goes down. Okay. Thank you. Oh, there you go, Michelle. I'm going to start shortly, but before I do, I'd just like to welcome our viewers who are watching online tonight. Welcome to Weight Loss Solutions Australia's information evening. We're just actually waiting for a couple of people who are stuck in traffic, so we will give you time to get here and we'll be back with you very shortly, if that's okay. Just give us a couple of moments. Thank you. Well done. No. Major damage, catastrophe. That's funny. I'm just going to give them a couple of minutes. No? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Oh, I'm waiting for her. I'm having to What? How long ago was that? Oh, I'll wait just a couple of minutes. You want me to start? Okay, I think we'll make a start even, and we'll just welcome those who arrive late, stuck in traffic as they get here. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Welcome to our information session. My name is Felicity. I'm the CEO here at Weight Loss Solutions Australia. And once again, welcome to all of those who are online. We're really lucky to be able to run an information evening like this where we can greet people in our rooms and give you the opportunity to get to know where you potentially will be coming to and meet our team, but also to people who are such a long way away from us. It gives them the opportunity to connect and learn in exactly the same way as you are here tonight. So we're really fortunate to be able to run a webinar of this nature, and thank you to all of those who've joined us tonight. We've got a huge crowd online. Please make the most of the chat function. You can ask questions as we go. Melanie is online, and so is Carol, and they'll try and answer all of your questions as you go. So I like to give a bit of a theme to our information evenings, and tonight's session we've named Enough is Enough, Lose Weight Forever. And why? Why a name like that, and what does that mean? And I can tell you almost every second person when I speak to them on the phone, if I say to them, what's the trigger? What's that one thing that's made you pick up the phone or send me an email at this point in your life? And so often I hear, I've had enough. I've just had enough. I've reached the end of my, the whole big thing is just too much for me, and I've got to do something to change. Do you relate to something like that and feel as though, you do reach that critical point in life where you really do say to yourself, I've just had enough? And that's why we want to start with that tonight and start to get you thinking about, well, what can you do to transform your life, and what is it going to look like for you potentially 12 months from now? I've given you all a notepad. So I'd just like to, before we sort of get thrown into the whole movement of tonight's presentations, and before I introduce the sequence of events, I'd just like you to take a couple of moments, and I ask all of you online tonight to do the same thing. Just take a moment to reflect and think about from where you're sitting tonight, if you could visualize yourself 12 months from now and see yourself as your future self, how would you like that to look? And what are some of the things that you'd like to see changed? It might be something like reduction in your type 2 diabetes medication. Is that the goal for you? Is that the absolute pinnacle? It might be being able to tie your own shoelaces. It might be sitting in an economy flight aircraft seat and being able to tie the seatbelt. So just take a moment to reflect, and this is just for you. We're not collecting this up afterwards. It's just something to think about and to start to get you to focus on how you'd like to see your future self 12 months from now. So many different things for so many people. It's different for everybody. Everybody's journey is different, and everybody's goals and expectations are different too. Would you ever worn a t-shirt before? No. Look at you, sexy.
Dead right and bad reality.
We're not only very fortunate to have a great group of patients who come along to share their stories at evenings like this, but we also have some lovely people who often choose to come along after they've been through the process and bring their friends, which is really, really lovely. So great to welcome one of our current beautiful patients here tonight with a friend of hers. It's nice to be able to inspire someone else. All right, how do we go with that? If you've got a whole list of things that you'd like to see change in your lives, because hang on to that, because I want you to really think about that and refer back to that later on in the evening and see that as your eventual reality. Before I get started, I'd just like to actually address why do we do bariatric surgery. I'm not going to get into all of the medical details because our nurse Michelle will give you a bit more insight into what we're looking to achieve with bariatric intervention. But it's so important for you to understand that this is first and foremost about a medical resolution to resolve significant morbid obesity and being excessively overweight, and we want to look for a permanent solution. This is about finding a permanent solution that is going to help you transform your life forever. And how do we do that and why do we do that? All of the things that we're going to address for you tonight. I'd like to start by introducing to you all of our team who are going to present tonight. So Michelle is a registered nurse with many years of surgical experience and experience here as our bariatric clinical nurse. She's worked in a whole range of areas, but in this clinic she's responsible for a lot of the management of bariatric patients that might be looking after their gastric banding adjustments. She's an absolute expert in the management of band adjustments, not just for patients who come to our clinic, but to patients who are from all over the place who for some reason have not had enough adequate follow-up, and she's a perfect resource to access for looking after that particular aspect of patient management. Some of Michelle's other skills are that she actually looks after our clinical trial and research side of the business, and we do see ourselves as a clinical trials and research centre. We've run in the past a clinical trial that Michelle has managed and overseen, and it's something we're hoping to achieve it again in the future, that we visualise and see ourselves as being at the cutting edge of medical technology, and we're always looking for the newest, the best and the greatest, and we'll always aim to deliver to our patient population the best bariatric procedures that we can. So tonight Michelle's actually going to give you a complete overview of all of the procedures. Please make sure that you ask questions. Tonight is all about you, so use the opportunity to leave here as well informed as you possibly can. So if you want to interrupt and ask a question, please do go ahead. Our accredited practicing dietitian tonight, Bonnie, is going to give you a bit of an insight into diet after all of the procedures and how does that affect your life. Kerry is our psychologist, clinical psychologist, who's going to tell you all about what is the psychologist's role and how she's going to be a part of the journey for you along this pathway. We have a whole range of amazing patients here who are going to share their stories. Tonight, Carol is actually going to, in her role, she has a couple of hats. She's actually a registered nurse with many years of experience and works here on our reception desk. But tonight she's actually going to share with you just a little bit of an insight into her personal journey with the Orbira intragastric balloon. Melanie is our patient relationship officer. Some of you might have already spoken to either Carol or Melanie on the front desk. Melanie is often a great resource for you to tap into when you want to know about, your own personal procedures and information from the patient perspective, because she's been there, done that. So tonight she's going to share a little bit of her own personal journey as well for you. And then we have a couple of other special guests who I'll save the best for last. So I'd like to get started by introducing you to Michelle to just give you a run through of all of the procedures. Please make her welcome.
Hello everyone. Feeling nice and relaxed or stressed? Either one. By the end of it, I'll have you at least cracking a smile, I think, because I tend to be a little bit like that. My role here, as Felicity's already said, is really to work with each of you and assist you along the way as on the journey and achieving what you want to achieve, because that's really what it's about. And your goals look very different to someone else's goals, but they matter to you and they're really important. And that's really the approach that we take here at WLSA, a team approach. And we're your biggest cheer squad. So if you need a cheer squad, then that's exactly what we are. But I'm just going to take the next few minutes just to run through basically the 3 procedures that we offer here. And as Felicity said, if you're confused or you've got a burning question, then please just let me know. I'm happy to attempt to answer it for you. Okay, so what we offer 3 different procedures here. First is the Orbera balloon, second is the lap band, and the third is the gastric sleeve. All right, so let's just take a moment to look at those 3 different options that are available for you. And I'll go through the description of what they are. I guess a little bit of a qualifying statement, and also give you a bit of an overview of the goods and the bads for all of them, because it's great to have a really good open opinion of everything, I think. So let's start with the Orbera balloon, which is this here behind you, but I always like having props, and so I brought along one of them here. All right, so this is a non-surgical procedure that we offer here. This is the Orbera balloon. It's looking a little bit sad and empty, but it gets quite full when it's popped in. So this is put in with a gastroscopy. Everyone know what a gastroscopy is? So it's like a little camera that goes down your throat, and it's put in, obviously it has its own little applicator that it goes in, and then it's flat. They're not going to try and shove that in there for you, but it's nice and flat. And then what they do is obviously they inflate it with some saline. I think it's up to about 700 ml they can put in, but obviously it's specific for the patient. And the idea is that it actually fills the space in your stomach, makes you feel quite satisfied on very small amounts of food, and obviously you lose weight from there. This is a procedure that stays in for 6 months only. It comes out after 6 months. It can't stay in any longer than 6 months. So don't think that this is something that stays in forever. It's really important that it comes out at 6 months. But we actually offer a 12-month program, and we do that on purpose, because with every bariatric procedure that I'm going to run through with you briefly this evening, it's not just about the event. It's not just about the surgery. In fact, that's really just the catalyst. It's about creating and changing lifestyle and developing habits that will give you a lifelong opportunity to maintain the weight loss that you achieve. Okay, so all 3 of them are exactly the same. We constantly talk about follow-up and processes, and that's because it's so important. So with this procedure, obviously you have it in for 6 months, you adapt, you learn about portion control, about being, listening to those satiety cues and receiving them on small amounts. And then once it comes out, obviously you've created that learning for your retrained your brain a little bit, and you're working with the dietitian and psychologist so that they really solidify that over the following 6 months. Okay, so a fantastic procedure for someone who's perhaps looking at losing 10 to 15 kilos. We've had patients that obviously can lose a little bit more than that, and patients that lose a little bit less, but that's generally what we're looking at. So it's a really common option for people who are, for instance, need to lose that weight. For instance, they're having joint surgery, anything like that, and the doctor said, well, we can't operate onto you until you lose that weight. So this is a great option for that as well. Okay, so that's the Orbera procedure. Any questions on that one? Yeah, go for it.
Do you have any information on statistics of just in general how many people put on weight after this? I mean, I know you've
yeah.
got a program, but you know, and
Yeah.
I know that it's relatively new.
Yeah.
But is it common for people to put on weight after the Olvera? Because it's not a permanent solution.
No, it's not a permanent solution. And just on that note, I just want to say that every bariatric procedure isn't a cure for obesity. Okay, I want you to understand that. Obesity is a disease, just like high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that, all right? So if you want to manage your high blood pressure, your doctor puts you on medication for it, doesn't it? And your blood pressure comes down, and then you stay at that level with your blood pressure. If you were to stop taking your blood pressure medication, what happens to your high blood pressure? It goes straight back up, doesn't it? All right, so every bariatric procedure is a tool that will support you and help you maintain good, healthy weight. So in answer to your question, I don't have exact statistics. I can say we get really good results here, and perhaps Carol will be able to share a little bit more insight into that when she shares her personal experience. So yeah, I don't actually have statistics for you. Yeah, I can certainly find them out, but yeah, not right at this moment. Yeah. There are a couple of side effects with this, and namely in the first few days. Obviously, something sitting in your belly and filling it up, you get quite nauseous, and that lasts usually 2-3 days. And it's almost like a switch is when someone reaches that time point, and then suddenly they don't feel that nausea anymore. But we also put you on some anti-reflux medication as a preventive for the whole time that you're on it, because obviously something sitting in the stomach can create that opportunity. So we try and deal with those symptoms as we go.
Because you mentioned reflux, for somebody who does have chronic heartburn and needs to lose weight because of that, is the gastric balloon a good idea?
I think it would depend on your individual circumstances, and once again, it's about the right procedure fitting the right person. And I'd be happy to chat with you afterwards about your own individual things like that. I think what we try and do is take an approach for each patient. You know, I can give you a broad overview, but what's right for you is going to be wrong for somebody else. So obviously, yes, if you've got reflux, you may be more susceptible to having that problem afterwards, but we do put you on that anti-reflux medication to assist in managing that.
But if you're already on that medication,
well, it could exacerbate it, yes. Yeah. But also if your reflux is directly related to your weight and you lose weight, then those symptoms of reflux may disappear as well. The logic says, doesn't it? Yeah. Any other? Nope. You can have a feel of that later if you like. All right. So let's then talk about the sleeve gastrectomy. I was just saying to Carol before, we need to get an actual life-size model so you can see what it looks like. But basically, a sleeve gastrectomy is probably the most what we call invasive procedure that we offer. Okay, done minimally invasively, so done through keyhole surgery, which is through little ports, you know, that look like this, and they put little cameras in them, so you only have a few little cuts all over your belly. But it is, I guess, removing 2/3 of your stomach. So it's a procedure that obviously you need to prepare for. You need to understand what life's going to be like after it, in comparison to what your life is like now. But it's certainly a procedure that is a very successful weight loss procedure. So basically what they do is they cut out this part of your stomach, and you're left with this tube-looking thing that's the remainder of your stomach. And these little things along here are called staples. And that's why you might have heard it referred to as a staple gastrectomy. So those staples basically seal the stomach and create the new stomach wall for you. Okay, so this procedure is for someone who has a BMI of, say, 35 plus, so needing to lose a significant amount of weight. And as I said, it is probably the higher, if we're talking about risks, it's probably the highest risk surgery, okay? Because obviously it's major surgery. We're taking out part of your stomach. And so the complications that are associated with that, namely the most acute complication is what we call a leak. So as I said, they put staples along here, and they use a whole bunch of technology that seam guards and all sorts of things that help to seal and heal that stomach wall. But that's probably the biggest risk when it comes to a sleeve, is that potential for leaking. And by leaking, I mean that breaks down. Okay, so that's obviously the most serious consequence that can happen with the sleeve. It's a very rare occurrence, most definitely. But once again, I like to put it all out there and let you know that that's one of the serious complications with that. The way that the sleeve is designed to work is obviously changes the anatomy of your stomach. It reduces the capacity for you to take in large amounts of food, and that's for the rest of your life. So in the beginning phases, it's a very small, like we're talking a couple of tablespoons of food that we have initially. Okay, and obviously that settles down as all the swelling and the stomach heals and things like that. Post-surgery, you actually don't have any solid food for 4 weeks. And that's a really important thing, because obviously we want to make sure that that stomach wall is allowed to rest and heal and recover and seal along the staple line. So we're very strict with that. No solid food for the first 4 weeks. So that basically covers that. You can expect to lose a significant amount of weight and quite rapidly. Usually within the first 12 months, you've lost about 50 to 60% of your excess weight loss that you're wanting to achieve. So it's quite a rapid, what's the word I'm looking for? Rapid result. But like I said in the beginning, it's a tool to use, okay, to help maintain your weight loss. And it's really important that you remember that the surgery is the beginning. And that's why we have dietitians and psychologists and patient liaison officers and myself here in the practice, because we're reteaching you and we're supporting you and helping you so that your long-term goal is achieved and it's maintained. Because that's what a goal's about, isn't it? It's not just hitting the goal and then sliding backwards. We've all hit goals and then gone, oh, great, I'm here now. I'll just forget about it. Okay, it doesn't work like that. So, we're looking for something permanent, and that's exactly what the sleeve does. Any questions on that one? You're in hospital for a couple of days too with that one, so at least 2 nights you're in hospital. No questions?
Oh, I had one.
I was going to say, it must be really good.
I'm just a bit, because obviously the surgery's in Brisbane.
Yes.
Driving straight after.
Well, we certainly recommend someone picks you up from the hospital. In fact, they don't recommend you drive yourself home from any procedure. I mean, you've got anaesthetic on board. That anaesthetic, general anaesthetic that you have, can take a couple of weeks to get out of your system. So you're not quite on the ball, and you're certainly not up to reactive times. But being a passenger, there's absolutely no problems. But certainly, we would be strongly advising you to have someone pick you up. And all your follow-ups are done here. So yes, the surgery is in Brisbane, but all your follow-ups are done. Yeah.
So you don't do that surgery here on the Gold Coast?
Our surgeon operates in Brisbane.
Okay.
Yep, at several hospitals up there. Yeah. Any other questions on that one?
How many follow-ups is there afterwards, like directly afterwards and throughout the year?
My answer to that is as many as you want.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You've got unlimited access for 12 months to all of these professionals here. And so we encourage you to use it as much as possible. But we do strongly advise you to come to set time points. And those set time points are deliberately set at those time points because there's different changes and different adaptation that needs to occur in the way that you're managing, or perhaps you're struggling, and it's an opportunity for you to come along and have a chat with us and just make sure that you're traveling along the path well. So obviously initially, usually it's about 2 weeks you come and see the surgeon, and then we go into other follow-up, but I'm going to leave those things to the dietitian and psychologist, because they're going to cover all those sorts of details for you. Yeah. Anything else? Nope. Okay, so let's move on to the third procedure that we offer, and that's called a lap band. And that's this one here, and it's exactly what it says. It's a band around the stomach, and it's done laparoscopically. Okay, so that's why we call it a lap band. Obviously, keyhole surgery again, so minimally invasive. It's a procedure that's designed to stay in. It's not something that comes out after a short period of time. But one of the advantages to this is if you do have any complications, which I'll go into in a minute, it's quite easily reversed. So that's the advantage with this one. I guess you would call it a lower risk operation. So the band is designed to sit around the top of the stomach and create a small pouch. That small pouch then is obviously, as the food comes down the esophagus, it hits that little pouch and starts to signal to the brain you're starting to feel full. You can slow down, and therefore you only eat small amounts and you feel quite satisfied for a reasonable amount of time. Okay, this is what the band looks like. That's it there. So it's got like little pillows in it. I'm happy to pass this around if anyone really wants to have a feel of it. Okay, so that sits around the stomach, and obviously it's an adjustable band. An adjustable band means that you can take fluid in and out according to what the band is or isn't doing for you. Okay, so that's the great thing about this. And this is the little port that we access, and we inflate these little pillows according to what's required. Okay, so that sits around the top of the stomach. Obviously there's no fluid in it in the very beginning. All the swelling and everything has to settle down, and then usually between 4 to 6 weeks post-surgery you come and see myself and we have a little chat and see how you're going, and we usually put some fluid in, okay, through a little needle. And this is attached on your muscle, so obviously you don't see it, you don't feel it generally in the beginning, and obviously I know what I'm feeling for, so that's a good thing. I'll put you at ease with that. And then we pop a little bit of fluid in through there. All right. Most, I guess, acute complication that you can get with this is a port infection. So obviously it's a foreign body. We have very limited ones of those, but that's, once again, I like to tell everyone what to expect. So that's a possibility, a port infection. Long-term wise, the other two complications that can potentially happen is what we call a slip. And a slip is where basically the band is fastened to a particular part of your stomach and sutured, but for some unknown reason it can slip out of position, and if that does, obviously it causes some symptoms that are very uncomfortable, and you need to basically get that fixed, and that's done laparoscopically again, and it's quite easily resolved. The other long-term complication for that is called an erosion, and an erosion is basically where the band, once again, for one unknown reason, rubs through the stomach wall, and obviously makes a perforation. And that, in that instance, the band would need to be removed. The advantages, obviously, with the band is it's a lower risk operation. Your recovery time is usually about a week or so. You're in hospital overnight, and you're on, fluids for a couple of weeks, and then you graduate with your textures. So usually by that 4-week period, you're back to normal textured foods. So that's the band. Once again, all minimally invasive. Any questions on that one?
How often is it filled with fluid, and is it filled initially to a certain degree and then at another interval and another interval?
Yeah. How often is very dependent on the individual.
Right.
I like to work with my band patients quite closely in the first few months to get you in what we call the green zone, or the zone where the band is at its optimal capacity of working. And for some people, it needs a little bit more volume than other people. So that's why we always have a conversation before we do any adjustment with that. But initially, there is no volume in the band except for what they prime it with. And then we usually do a standard volume at that first appointment about 4 to 6 weeks after, and then we judge it from there.
Okay, and how long does that go on for? When does it usually stop?
Usually stop what? Adjusting.
The filling, yes.
Well, the filling, once again, is very individual. Like I can get some patients into the green zone in 1 or 2 adjustments. Other people might take 3 or 4. Yeah, and it's something that over the years you would need to get adjusted. In fact, with all of our procedures, in particular the sleeve and the band, see you at least every 12 months after that first 12-month period. Right. Because once again, we feel that it's important to make sure that you have a bit of a checkup, you make sure everything's all right, and that the tool that you have, regardless of which one, is working and is effective for your lifestyle and you're achieving the goals that you have. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Yes. Yeah. Any other questions?
The amount of food that the band has, is it pretty much the same as what the sleeve?
It's about a cup and a half of food, generally, that we, as a guideline, that someone would sit down for a normal meal to eat. And obviously that's made up of different types of foods. So initially the sleeve is a lot smaller capacity, most definitely. And weight loss with the band, usually at 2 years, you've achieved that 50 to 60% excess weight loss. So it is a little bit slower than the sleeve, but at 5 years, research shows that a band and a sleeve patient lose about the same amount of weight.
So the sleeve is permanent. I mean, not
The
sleeve.
sleeve is irreversible. I always like to say it's irreversible.
No.
Yeah.
The banding
Is reversible.
but it's permanent if you don't.
Yes, absolutely. We've got patients that have had this in excess of 20 years in there.
Okay, no problems.
Generally, no. I mean, you know, you could always have some, you're going to have one patient that's going to have issues, but yeah, generally. Yeah. Okay. So it's designed to be a
Long term.
long-term thing. Yeah. Yeah. I think I've taken enough of your time, so thank you. And please, if you've got any other questions after, don't hesitate to come up to me and ask me. All right.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Just a couple of key things to just reminders and take-home messages from Michelle's presentation. So Brisbane Hospitals, just to extend on that, it's really important not just to have a brilliant, technically capable surgeon to offer all of our patients, but the hospital environment and the setting where you have your surgery is absolutely critical. And so one of the reasons why we have as a preference the Brisbane Hospitals, not just because our surgeons are based there, but because they need access to everything that they could possibly need to support any bariatric patient, no matter what. And that means from the operating theatre all the way through to the ward staff. It means that the whole network around them, if they need an endocrinologist or any other specialist to support the care of our patients, we know that we've got absolutely the best of everything in the hospitals where our surgeons operate. So if you're Gold Coast based, for example, that's just one short kind of visit away from your local area just for your surgery, but it's to give you the best available opportunity to have surgery in the best environment that we can offer you. And just also on the follow-up situation, follow-up doesn't always necessarily have to be right here in the clinic, and especially I refer to all of you watching online tonight. We offer a lot of Skype consultations and phone consultations, so there's always a connection. If you can't get to the clinic, our psychologist and dietitian especially will use Skype as the opportunity to stay connected with you, and you book in exactly the same way for your follow-up appointments. If you're a distance patient from Townsville or Mackay or Ipswich or wherever you might be, if you can't always get here locally on site to the clinic, then there's always an opportunity to still remain connected. Skype's really the preference for us. I think it works really, really well. But you can also have phone and email connection throughout as well. Yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind. With the gastric band, it's really interesting, the evolution of bariatric surgery. When we first started this practice, it's 15 years since Weight Loss Solutions Australia has first started out in this area of practice. And in those days, we only had the band to offer. It was literally a one-size-fits-all. And I think now we're really fortunate that we can take each patient and review, diagnose, assess and manage each person individually and offer you the best available procedure to suit you. And I just want to say that the band still has an amazing place to play within a very dedicated bariatric surgical environment. It's a great device. We've had thousands and thousands of patients through the lifespan of this practice who've had gastric bands and done well with them. So just make sure we actually go through and assessing what's going to be right for you, that you take the time to be very well informed and educated. And Michelle's actually a great resource to actually, as a starting point, if you're starting to think about, well, I'm not really sure what's right for me, Michelle's a really great starting point to actually go through the procedures and start to think about what might suit your goals and expectations before you actually start getting into the detailed consultation process. All right, I just thought I'd actually refer to this article that I was given tonight. Sorry, can you see that?
Yeah.
This is actually an article just about a gentleman who's had the gastric balloon and all about how he's transformed his life using that particular procedure and how the device works. And really interesting, you know, some of the issues that men face. And I thought I might just let you know, just a very small little secret, is we're hosting an event in a couple of weeks' time called Secret Men's Business. No women allowed. I won't be there. I'll be hiding out the back. And that is actually an event that's going to be facilitated by our psychologist, Warren. And one of our other patients, Kirk, will be involved in facilitating that conversation. So not to replace an information evening, but for guys. So if there's actually an information sheet in your bags there tonight. So if you'd like to recommend to any men who want to come along to that session, they're very welcome to come along. All right, next in the team, I'd like to introduce you to Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie. All right, so tonight I've actually got a few questions to ask Bonnie that are questions that patients have actually raised that are the typical, most commonly asked questions that we get for the dietitian. And I'm just going to run through those and then you're more than welcome to add to them. All right. So you're happy for me to just start by going through these? All right. First of all, what makes a bariatric procedure different from a regular diet and why does it work?
Absolutely. So it's really important to note that numerous studies have shown that traditional diets in restrictions or cutting out certain food groups, fad diets, there's many around, aren't successful in the long run. 90% of people will fail as such on a traditional diet. So that means altering eating and lifestyle behaviours in an unhealthy way. I actually wanted to pass out this graph, so just feel free to sort of pass it around because I think a visual representation is always a good thing. There we go. Just to have a look at the difference there between, in that case, that's a band that it's showing at 6 months. So it basically summarises the fact that yes, you absolutely can lose weight on a diet in the initial stages, but at 6 months, 95% of people who undertook the diet will regain their previous weight, and sadly enough, more weight often in these cases. So has anyone had an experience where they've possibly gone on a diet and actually regained a bit of weight? I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Okay.
Laughter in the room.
Absolutely. So, bariatric surgery, all of these procedures that you see behind me, it's not about restricting or cutting out food groups, which can be unhealthy and places at risk of many different sort of health effects. It's about a long-term sustainable solution. Okay, so at the end of the day, you're basically having a healthy, balanced diet, and that's what I'm here for, the dietitian, to guide you in that. But it's about portion control. It's not about restricting yourself, psychologically, which is very, very difficult to do on a diet. That hard work as such is done for you through the procedure. But in saying that, because essentially you're having a cup to a cup and a half of food after your procedure or surgery, it's very important to make that nutritionally dense. Bariatric patients, if they don't do the right thing in terms of diet, as in neglect certain food groups, can place themselves at risk of micronutrient and macronutrient deficiency. So that's things like protein, iron, zinc, calcium, to name a few. So we're here to guide you in that process. So very, very big difference long term between a diet as such, which don't work, and bariatric surgery, which has been shown to work.
So I think you've answered part of my next question, but why is dietetic follow-up so crucial to the long-term success of any bariatric patient?
Absolutely. Very good point again. I'm sure a few of you have seen the online forums and blogs and some of the negative comments, perhaps from people who have had the different bariatric surgeries or procedures. People who do have, negative complications or side effects are often those who don't have the follow-up, dietetic follow-up, psychologist follow-up, and nurse follow-up in that instance as well. Those people aren't basically shown what to eat, when to eat, the timing of the meals through the day, all of those things which really lead to an optimal result, not only in weight loss, but in terms of staying healthy as well. So basically, we've heard many stories of patients who have actually had the surgery done, and in terms of the sleeve and the band, it's quite major surgery, and even for the balloon over the 6 months without follow-up, without dietetic follow-up. So if you don't have the education and are shown what to eat, basically you can't expect optimal results. So it's very, very important to have the follow-up. And once again, I don't unfortunately have a graph to show that, but the difference in patients who do have the follow-up compared to those who don't are just absolutely vast. And as I said, I think it's a really good point in those online forums and blogs. They're often, engaged in by people who have not had the follow-up and are quick to be on there and say, it wasn't successful for me. Perhaps most likely if they would have had the follow-up at a place like WSA, which takes a very holistic approach and multidisciplinary approach, I'm sure their results would have been very, very different. So fantastic that you're here tonight just to hear from the different team members and the input, which is so important.
Add to that, and what Bonnie's touched on is something that we really pride ourselves on, which is the research that we do here as a clinic. And Carol, the beginning of around about 2002, 3, 4?
4 maybe.
Around 2004, Carol was involved in one of the very first research projects that we took on as a team, and it was all about, does follow-up attendance equate to better long-term outcomes? And the answer is an unequivocal yes. We can't impress that upon you enough. And from my point of view, if I can actually get you to take away with you tonight the actual importance of engaging with your team members, it's the critical thing. Surgery, no matter what it is one day in your life. It's the next 12 months that's so important. So the research that Carol was involved with, she actually presented in Boston at one of the largest worldwide bariatric surgical meetings. And we're really, really proud of that research because since then it's gone on to become published worldwide. But it was actually done first. That first research was done here in this clinic. And that's part of, I guess, how the philosophy is entrenched throughout the team, and what we try to give you is all about the fact that, we put so much into learning that's what does make a difference. So yeah, really important point. All right. Is it possible for patients to use nutrition information from the internet, like social media and online forums?
All right, so absolutely, I get asked that question quite often when people initially see me and ask that very question, then why can't I just get my information from the internet and, save the hassle with the follow-up? I guess a good analogy for that is if you were sick, would you just jump on Google and have a look at your symptoms? I'm sure people do. You will definitely not get the same result or recover as quickly or become as healthy as if you go to your doctor. Your doctor's trained, he knows exactly, he or she knows exactly what to do in terms to get you as well as possible, as soon as possible. Same things in terms of the procedures and surgery behind me. As a dietitian, we're trained, spend many years training to learn what foods and what nutrients are the best in terms of your health to live the highest quality of life possible for you. Very, very crucial in bariatric surgery because, as I said before, you're looking about a cup. So it seems, some people find it hard to believe when I first show them a cup to a cup and a half worth of food at each sort of meal and a little bit less at snack time. That needs to be as nutritionally dense as possible. You hear me say that word quite often. So within that, we need to make sure we're getting a very balanced sort of mix from the different food groups so we don't sort of, as I said, suffer those health consequences. So if you were to receive information from the internet, it's not individualized and tailored to you and your lifestyle, which is what we're here for. Everyone has different circumstances. Socially, economically, everyone's lifestyle is different. Perhaps something that works for someone may not work for someone else. It may not be practical. So I sit down with you and we figure out a plan that's going to work for you and towards optimal results in terms of weight loss and health for yourself.
So, do you think you could just explain for those who don't know or who haven't actually had any connection with consulting with a dietitian before, what would you expect to go through? What's the process like when a patient comes to see you?
Yes, so absolutely, and a few people can, feel it's natural to feel a little bit hesitant before your first consult and not know what to expect. But basically, so I like to think it's a really friendly atmosphere when you come in here, and we're definitely there for support as well, not only guidance and education, but support. So you come in, an initial consult is 45 minutes standardly. We basically run through what you're doing at the moment in terms of your diet and your weight history and diet history. Talk about some personal things and what you want to achieve. Then I'll run you through education for the pre-surgery diet and post-surgery. So we do get you to go on a pre-surgery diet, and then post-surgery it's a 6-week transition onto the full diet. That's also information that you don't receive from the internet. And it can be dangerous, not being guided correctly in that area by professionals. It can be very dangerous and you place yourself at risk. So we come in 45 minutes. If we need a further consultation prior to your surgery, absolutely fine. Whatever you need. We can even do a phone consult or Skype, as Felicity said before. Standardly, though, we see you once before, run through that. Post-surgery or procedure, we see you within usually 7 to 10 days. That can be also by phone consult and Skype if you're from distance. Then we see you, I see you at 6 weeks when you're progressing onto your full diet. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. And through that time, we do regular blood tests to monitor your micronutrient levels and make sure everything's basically in check there. So each sort of consult afterwards, half an hour or 15 minutes, you may need more. So yeah, and you know, as issues arise, we sort of deal with them then. So it's a continual process of education and information and ongoing support. A lot of people don't like to tell a lot of people about their procedure or surgery. So we're here as another ear, to listen and a friend as well.
Okay. What does the long-term diet look like for any bariatric patient? What can they expect long-term? What does food look like? What does going out look like?
So, and absolutely, I think that's quite a common concern. You know, there's sort of myths out there, or I'll just be eating nuts and seeds, or a really sort of limited selection of food after I have this, so it'll sort of ruin my lifestyle I'm leading. But at the end of it all, in the long term, as I said before, it's about portion control. So that cup to cup and a half of food, yes, at each meal and snack, but a wide variety of foods. Yes, I acknowledge that patients perhaps with the band also may have difficulties with a few foods, such as bread is quite a common one, carbonated beverages, possibly rice, things like that. Some people may have no symptoms in that regard. A healthy, balanced diet, I can't emphasize that enough. I'm a big advocate for treats every now and then, absolutely, that balance there. But you can still go out, use food as a social thing. Definitely, it's very much part of the Western culture. It's just you'll be eating off an entree-sized plate, where the person next to you will be eating off a full plate, essentially. And it just becomes habit. So you won't be restricting yourself, you won't feel hungry in the same way that you used to. You'll feel satisfied off that small amount. But in saying that, we need to make sure we have enough of the good stuff first and keep ourselves healthy. So at the end of the day, healthy, balanced diet, just smaller amounts. And you look back and it's hard to believe how far you've come, as sort of past patients understand. So yeah, it's very, very rewarding to see the difference in people when they come back in long term.
One of the other things that you will get to experience with Bonnie as well, as part of what we offer here, and I really would encourage you to go along and take part in this, is she takes a supermarket tour. Usually around about the 3-month mark is when we try to run that. It's actually a fantastic experience to go on something like that. It sounds really silly, going on a supermarket tour with the dietitian. Can you just tell us a little bit about what patients would learn when they're going on that tour with you?
Absolutely. So I know shopping's something that you've done for many, many years, but it's about learning how to shop smartly and, economically as well. And to, as we said, include that really good mix of your different food groups. Make sure you're sort of doing the right things in terms of that. But on a budget, we learn to shop on a good budget as well. So we do activities looking at the different, sugar content and fat content of food, which can be quite surprising. It's a bit of an eye-opener, really. We sort of go through each aisle and look at different products and look at avoiding the minefield that the supermarket is, really. So there's a lot of different strategies that they'll use to try and draw you into certain products, which may be very high in saturated fat and sugar, which you may not be aware of. The other day we were looking at the difference between some fruit juices and soft drinks, and found that there wasn't really much of a difference in terms of sugar level. So it's definitely all part of the education process, and I think it's very, very special that we offer that and just provide that unique experience. So I would really encourage coming along to that, and yeah, definitely making the time for it, and it'll allow you to shop smarter and make sure that you're covering all those essential nutrients, which at the end of the day is very important to achieve optimal weight and the best health outcomes.
So at the end of the day, it's so much more than just about weight loss. It's about what do we want for our patients long term in terms of their health outcomes. And I guess, Bonnie, when you refer to the quality of the food that you're getting in a small portion, we're also thinking health prevention as well as resolution of previous comorbid conditions, but also where do we want you to see yourself and how do we want you to live your life in 20 years' time, for example. So the more you can take on board from the dietitian now, the better health outcomes you're going to have in 10 years and 20 years beyond, life beyond just bariatric surgery and weight loss. So really important to engage with Bonnie and make the most of the opportunity. Thank you very much. Has anyone got any questions for now? Bonnie will be here afterwards if you'd like to ask any questions. I'm sure there's people online asking Melanie questions as we go, but yeah, please don't stop with the questions. We're happy to answer them. Thank you so much, Bonnie.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so are you starting to get a feel for how things work and who you're going to see in the team? The value of actually engaging with your team, so critical, and you can't stress that enough. The next person that you're going to get to meet in our team is the psychologist team member. And once again, you can work with your psychologist long term. It's not about a test before surgery. It's just so much more. If you think about all of the things that have led to bringing you here today, think about your psychologist team member as someone who can help you work on all of those issues and help you move on to a healthy future as well. Please make Kerry welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, So my name is Kerry Woods and I'm a clinical psychologist. During your visits here, you'll either meet myself or Warren. We aim to please. We've got one male psychologist and one female, whatever you feel more comfortable with. So tonight I just want to tell you about my role and supporting you in your weight loss journey. But before I do that, I do want to commend everybody for actually making the time to be here tonight. From a psychological point of view, it tells me that you're not making a decision based on emotion, based on gut feeling. You're gathering information and you're going to be making a wise decision. And the research supports that when that decision is made based on information and being in your wise mind, that the outcome and your success are much greater. I'm not sure whether you realise, but there actually are 4 stages in making a change. First one is awareness. And when it comes to the weight, it's awareness that your weight is impacting on you. It's problematic, whether it's physically or emotionally. Second stage of making a change is where you're at tonight, and that's determination. It's determination that a decision needs to be made, something needs to change. We can be in the awareness stage for a week, a month, 10 years, but you finally get to the point where you think enough is enough. I'm going to come along, get some information, I'm going to join, certain groups online, and you're in stage 2. What comes next is action. And action is when you undergo the procedure, whatever procedure it is that you've chosen. The last stage is maintenance, and that's where Warren and myself are able to make sure that your maintenance is as easy as possible. We'll hold your hand through it if you need. Maintenance includes lifestyle changes, exercise, dietary needs. It's a whole host of different obstacles that might come up. So let me tell you a little bit about my role. It's twofold. The first part includes the initial assessment. It is fairly informal, don't be too worried. There's no test. Without judgment, we sit down, we discuss the diets that you've tried, things that have worked, things that haven't. I usually work on a bit of a strength-based platform. So I look at diets that have worked in the past for you and try and use those experiences and move forward with them. The other thing that we chat about is your lifestyle, the job that you have, how many hours are you sitting? Are you sitting in traffic to work? Are you sitting all day at work? Your cultural history, what types of foods you've been brought up with. We look at smoking and alcohol and sleeping habits and diet habits. I also look at psychological history or even current. So if there's any anxiety, stress, depression, whatever it might be, By no means does that exclude you from any of the procedures. Really, it just highlights to Warren and I and the team that maybe a more specialised or individualised treatment plan might be needed. In the initial assessment, we also look at the suitability of the procedure that you've chosen. Not that we talk you in or out of anything, but we just, use you as a sounding board. And we're there to answer any questions or queries that you may have. So that's the first part of my job. Second part is really all about the aftercare plan. So there's been a lot of questions here tonight about how often do you see us? Usually 5 times in the first year. And that's the bare minimum. We will call you, we'll track you down, we'll hunt you down. We want to be connected with you. This is a really important part of the aftercare program. I've got some patients that link in every fortnight, every month. They just like the accountability of coming here, getting weighed. There's a lot of social connectedness that goes on within the waiting room, and they can just link in with, new psychological tools that can again help them and then be on their way. For others, it is a Skype session or a phone call. So I kind of like to say, be your own therapist, do what works for you. But if you do go all silent on us, we will be calling you, because often that's an indication that you might be struggling. The reason why we do offer a 12-month aftercare program is because a lot of the obstacles or barriers tend to come up probably 6 months or even 12 months into your weight loss. First and foremost, which kind of happens from day one, is once you've had the procedure, you can't comfort eat, mindless eat, boredom eat, emotional eat. That just cannot happen. So in the first session, I often give you a few tools to go away with. What are you going to do next time you're stressed or bored? You can't turn to food. So I give you tools before you even leave the first session. Another obstacle or barrier that we sometimes see is motivation. And we tend to kind of focus on this 6 weeks after you've had the procedure. That's the motivation to engage in exercise. I know that exercise can have a lot of negative connotations, so it could even just be incidental exercise. Putting the remote on the television, so each time you need to turn the volume or change the station, you have to get up off your chair. So that could be just the first step to encouraging you to exercise. So that happens at the 6-week group meeting. It is a group meeting, but again, be your own therapist. If groups make you anxious and you don't want to be disclosing information, again, you can have a one-to-one with Warren or myself. The other barriers or obstacles that we sometimes see is self-sabotaging behaviour. Now, this does tend to happen. Even though you spent a lot of money and there's no plan B or C or D, some people do start to re-engage in self-sabotaging behaviour. That could just be missing an appointment here. It could be something more damaging, grazing on calorie-condensed foods all day, still trying to emotionally eat, but doing it with chocolate or other foods that are easily digestible. The message is, don't hang your head in shame, don't feel guilty. Come and have a chat to us. Let Warren and I unpack that. We really need to hit this on the head, because this is your turn and it's your time, and it costs money and time. So that's one obstacle that, not for everybody, but it does rear its head. Another one is identity. With weight loss, you'll start to do different activities. You'll start to change your values. You'll start to change some friends. You'll realise that the old friends were perhaps a little unhealthy for you. So it's about looking at the grief and loss process. There may even be interpersonal relationship struggles that are coming up. Whatever it is, have a chat to us and we'll help you through it. We'll guide you. The other obstacle that often we see is addictions. So for some people, food has been their choice of addiction. Not for all, but again, Warren and I will help you gain some awareness if you're falling into this pattern, and stop you from choosing another addiction. You can't replace food with something else. So again, it's around awareness and giving you some tools and strategies. Other obstacles that we sometimes see are food wastage. Depending on what you've been socialised with as a child, you can't leave the table until your plate's clean. Or even as a mother, throwing out the scraps or eating your children's scraps. So again, it's psychological skills around what messages were you socialised around wasting food, and how are you going to feel in a restaurant if you don't eat all of what you've been given. The other obstacle is around realistic goals and this notion of happiness, and that your goal weight is going to make you magically happy. And the research will back me up on this, that physical attractiveness and being at a goal weight isn't what makes you happy. It's the activities that you do as you get to your goal weight, or even when you're at your goal weight. You know, what social circles are you in? What is your purpose? You know, do you have hobbies that you find challenging yet pleasurable? So I'm not going to go through all the research with you, but it's just highlighting that there are a lot of obstacles along the way. Everybody's different. You might sit here and have a completely, you know, struggle-free journey and not need to see us. But the underlying message is that we're here without judgment. And, you know, it's your turn and your time, so make the most of us. I, in my postgraduate studies, looked at the psychological and social effects of lap band surgery. And in the findings, which concur with many other studies, a successful weight loss is based on long-term follow-up plan of 12 months, and many other organisations I was researching really only offer 6 weeks. So 12 months is fantastic. The other main key is that we've got a multidisciplinary team. You know, it is a team environment. You will be seeing a dietitian, psychologist, linking in with as many professionals as possible. I feel as though I've been doing a lot of talking. Are there any questions so far? I'll be milling around after the seminar, so feel free to come and approach me. I'm approachable, and I'd love to have a chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a fantastic insight into the role of the psychologist, but it's not uncommon to not have any questions for the psychologist at this point in time. But hopefully in time you will have many, many questions for Kerry. I'd like at this point in time just to thank our professional team. How lucky are we to have such an awesome group of people? I feel very, very lucky that we can deliver to patients every day an amazingly gifted and dedicated group of people to deliver all of the programs that we offer here. So that includes Michelle, Bonnie and Kerry, and I think they're just awesome. Please thank them all for their presentation. I personally never tire of listening to any of them and always learn something new every single seminar. This is actually my favourite night of every single month, because we just enjoy being able to deliver to a new group of people what we do every single month. Now we get to the really exciting part, because it's great for us to have a professional team to work with you, but I know from a patient point of view is what's it like from the patient point of view. So we've got a whole group of people to introduce you to, and their stories are absolutely fantastic. So tonight I'd actually like to firstly introduce Carol to just give you a bit of an overview. I know there's been a lot of discussion on our Facebook page recently about the Orbera balloon and how that fits into the world of bariatrics and what it can offer our patients. And Carol has, she's had many, many years of experience as a nurse, but as a patient, not such a long time. So I'd just like her to give you a bit of a view on the balloon, and please ask some questions of her as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. It feels a little bit different for me just being up here to talk about my own personal journey, because often I talk about the medical side of things and that sort of thing. So for me tonight, I'm actually just like you. You know, I've been through those same feelings. It doesn't matter how much you have to lose, you still have those same feelings of inadequacy as to why can't I do it myself. You know, the feeling that you just might not be good enough. So for me personally, to get a balloon was, I had to admit that I actually had a problem, and thankfully I was still involved with a centre that looked after me, just like we'll look after you. So one of the reasons that I had the balloon was that I was just getting to an age where I couldn't lose the weight as easily as what I could when I was 25. And I was about to become a grandmother, and I wanted to be active again. I wanted to be able to be fit and be able to get down on the floor with my now 17-month-old grandson. And, you know, it was really important to me to actually be able to do that sort of thing. And I found that basically my portion sizes were way too big. And I was struggling with the fact that I want to be able to cut down my portion sizes, but I was struggling. That's all I can say, is that I was struggling. So with the balloon, my personal journey is that I lost the 10 kilos that I wanted to lose. It wasn't as bad as what I expected because I've seen other people go through it. I was thinking, I was a bit nervous then, but I didn't have as much vomiting as what I expected. I was literally off the medication within 3 days. I was actually preparing for my daughter-in-law's baby shower. So I was up and at 'em about 3-4 days after I had the procedure, and just went on from there. So my portion size has certainly decreased. I had a pretty easy run through the whole 6 months. There was only one other time that I wasn't able to tolerate a certain food, and I don't know whether it was the particular type of food or whether I'd just eaten that little bit too much, but it was only once in that whole 6 months. The other thing that I wanted to do was that I wanted to learn how to run, because there's a number of people in this office here who run, and they'd say, I'm just going off for a run, or we're going to go and do this 5K run, and I'm thinking, I want to do that, but I just couldn't do it. So thankfully that I work for a very encouraging boss, and so I'm very grateful to Felicity that she organised for a running coach. And we were hoping that maybe other people might have been interested. But throughout that, in any case, I learnt to run. And within a matter of about 2.5-3 months of running, I ran 5 kilometres together with my team here at Reality. And it was a real feat for me. That was I the fastest? Absolutely not. I was the slowest, but Felicity, again, in her encouraging way, was there about 200 metres from the finish line, waiting for me. Sorry. It's really, it is a personal journey, and I'm supported by a very personal team here that I work with, as well as I've seen that support go through, not just because I work here, but with everybody else that comes here as well. So sometimes we might sound a little bit pushy, but it's because we feel the same as you do. And some of us have been in this seat and we understand what it's like. And we want to encourage you to know that that feeling of actually being able to succeed and do something that you wanted to do for such a long time gives you, just changes your life really. So basically for anybody who's considering the balloon, it's a great procedure for something that is usually somewhere about 10 to 15 kilos weight loss. And we have had people be very successful, losing 20 kilos and losing 28 kilos at one stage. A lady who I think we've still got photographs around. She was one of a TV personality who came to see us and had the balloon, and she did lose 28 kilos. So that's more the exception than the rule. But for me personally, I achieved something that I didn't actually ever think that I would. And I'm very grateful. And as far as the weight gain goes, when you were talking earlier, you can get a little bit of weight gain, but I'm much more aware now that as soon as I start to put a little bit on, I'm onto it again straight away. And, still got the support with the team as well. Anybody have any questions for me? No? Okay, well, I'll be around as well if anybody would like to ask any questions. Thank you.
Fantastic story, and I absolutely loved being able to experience that run with Carol. And in fact, we try and do as many things as we can like that with patients. It might be a walk at the Gold Coast Marathon, a run, it could be anything, but we love to encourage our patients to get involved in all sorts of different things. In fact, I've actually worked with Carol for quite a few years now. And so now, just because, she's so valuable and we can't ever think of not having her here with us, I actually pump her with vitamins every day. just quietly, I make sure she takes her vitamins. She's got to keep it young and healthy and fit for a very long time. Love having the role that she plays here. And it's so nice that she can also share with other patients coming through and having the balloon that she can share of her own personal experience. All right, I think now my next guest I'd like to introduce is Leanne. Come on up, Leanne. This actually gives me great pleasure to bring Leanne on up to the stage tonight. I've actually known Leanne for quite a few years, and in fact, when our practice was located at a hospital down the other end of the coast for a number of years. We used to see you often. You'd walk in and you'd sort of have your head down and wouldn't say too much. But with Jo, you've been to how many seminars over the years? A couple before you, yeah. And I think, you know, traditionally most people take at least 2 years before they do make that final decision, and to walk through our door is a big step. You used to do it often, and I know that you used to think about, oh, I wonder what goes on in here. But it took such a long time to get Leanne to that point where after 2 information nights and probably years of thinking, to get you to the point where you were actually having your opportunity, and it's just fantastic to see what you've achieved and the person you've become through it. So please make Leanne welcome to tell you her story.
Thank you. I wasn't going to write any notes, but I did because I wanted to say so much. Like Kerry's my psychologist. She's amazing.
Thanks.
I just want to say I know how hard it is to actually make that decision to be here. I know how much thinking you've done to be here, how much research you've done to be here. I had a gastric sleeve with Dr. Adib on the 3rd of December in 2013. That's about 14 months ago. I've lost 61 kilos. I'm trying to be not like Carol and cry because I cried all last night when I looked at these. When I was asked to bring before photos of me, I took these photos. There's 2 of these photos I took the morning of my surgery, and my husband, who's sitting up the back, he hadn't even seen them till last night till I showed him, and I was like sobbing when I saw them. It's like I didn't know that I looked like that, and even when I printed them out and I put them on the table and I turned and looked at them, and I just burst into tears because I looked at that person and I'm like, I'm not that person anymore. So I'll hand it around. And so you people, out of 4 people have only seen this of me, and that's another one. But
I don't believe this is you.
no, my girlfriend said that to me today. My girlfriend said that to me today. I showed her at work and she goes, that's not even you.
No.
And she said and it's funny because she said too, when we've known you for so long and we've never seen you as that person ever. And when you're overweight, often you don't see yourself as that person. Sometimes you need to look, I'm trying not to cry, you need to look at something like that and it's like an eye-opener that, like, I'm so proud and happy of where I am. And you look at that and it's like exactly like you see on The Biggest Loser. Like, you understand now why when they see an old photo of themselves like that they'll just start crying. And it's like, because I've never been more happy, more content in my life than I am right now, more healthy, more happy. And then I look at that person and it just brings back all that emotion of how sad I was, how unhappy I was, how it's like the person that I am now was always there, but it was hidden down under so many things. And now I'm just a completely different person, absolutely different. Yeah, it's confidence, it's confidence, it's happiness, it's being able to do things, it's being able to sit on any chair I choose. Like, it doesn't matter, oh my God, am I going to fit in there? Am I not going to fit in there? I can sit on any chair I want. I can cross my legs. I can sit on a bed and cross my legs. I can sit on the floor and cross my legs. I can do things that I haven't been able to do for years. And we live up to your bedroom home. I can run up and down the stairs now. I have we have a 16-year-old son, and like, we muck around together, and there's nothing now that I can't do. I had so many restrictions before where I don't know, I can't do this, I can't do that. For the first time ever as a family, we're actually going overseas this year and we're going to Fiji. There is no way I would have ever chosen to go somewhere like that where I have to, wear swimmers or worry about going on a plane or anything like that. In terms of the surgery, I didn't have any complications from my surgery. I stayed, where did I go? Wesley. Yeah, I went to the Wesley with Dr. Adib. I ended up staying an extra night because I became dehydrated, simply because I just couldn't get enough fluid in. So my blood pressure dropped really low, so I just stayed an extra night. Somebody else asked in terms of driving home. Obviously, I didn't drive. My husband did, and there was no problems at all being a passenger driving home. I wasn't in any discomfort at all. I had about a week off work. I'm in an office job, so I only needed about a week off work. But I will say I was really tired for the first couple of months. And with my dietitian, we worked out my stomach is quite small. It's quite, as Dr. Adib said, it's funny to say, but my stomach is quite smaller than your normal stomach. So I was having trouble getting in all my food, all my fluid, and I'm just like, okay. I remember sitting down in tears at home going, I can't get any I can't eat and drink everything they want me to eat and drink. And that's when I came back. I saw my dietitian more regularly simply because of my tiredness, and I couldn't get in all my food and drink. And then eventually, a couple months later, it just clicked, and I was able to, my stomach was able to hold that bit more. I still can't drink like 1.5 litres of fluid a day. That I just can't do that. But it is like you either eat or drink. You can't eat and drink at the same time. So for me, was for somebody who eats and drinks together, when you sit down and have a meal, that was a very big thing for me. And it still is. I still can't eat and drink at the same time. It's one or the other, but I'm fine with that. I can deal with that. In terms of post-surgery, like that was fine. The only issue I had a problem with was the pureed food stage. That was absolutely disgusting. And I couldn't wait for that 7 days to be over. Like that was just horrendous. But then, starting to go back onto normal foods. Initially, I couldn't eat egg because it sat too heavy in my stomach. I can eat egg now. Lettuce was another issue. I couldn't digest lettuce, but my dietitian said just keep, pushing it, just keep trying. Eventually, you'll be able to eat it. And then 2 months ago, I was able to eat lettuce in a salad, and I was so excited. I haven't had salad for like 10 months, so I was so happy. And in terms of, I know this was a big thing for me because my husband and I are very social. Can you drink afterwards? Yes, you can. But no, I didn't for a long time. And only because I had so much trouble, fatigue, and because I wasn't able to get in the water. So there was no way I was going to put anything else in my body that, that wasn't going to help it. The only I shouldn't say it's a regret. The only thing I find really frustrating is because I was a big water drinker before, I can't drink water. I still, 14 months later, cannot drink plain water. And you can't just scull a glass of, cold water if you're really, really thirsty. You can't do that. For me, if I get really, really thirsty and I know I can't, scull a drink, I have an icy pole. Because it just seems to, it just makes your mouth really cool and really refreshed. And I found that icy poles were my best friend. And still are if I'm really, really thirsty. And Kerry touched on before that you can get to 12 months because I'm 14 months. I hit that 12-month mark and got a bit lost. But Kerry has helped me deal through, all of those things and, resetting goals and putting you on the right track and just refocusing. Maybe I have sabotaged, I'll be honest, I have sabotaged eating. But it's learning what triggers that, how to stop it and move forward, because like you don't get to this weight without years and years and years of problems. And in 12 months, you can't expect every one of those problems to be fixed because this is just a tool. It's very much a tool. And I'm very strict with my eating. I will make sure everything that's going in is going to help me. And you'll find too that I know with my sleeve, bad foods don't actually taste it. I don't crave McDonald's, KFC. I don't even think I've had KFC. You just don't crave that junk food. You don't crave chocolates. You don't crave sweet things. Everything you crave for is like, generally when I crave for something, it's something savoury. It's like a protein. That's what I feel like I need. also in terms of going out, as I said before, we're very social. I love to cook. We love to cook together. It has not changed at all, because that was one of the things I asked initially was, am I going to lose my love of cooking? Am I going to lose my love of food? No and no. You'll still, if you love cooking, if you love good food, that's not going to change. And in fact, the only thing that'll change is you will start with your cooking. It'll change to a more healthier way of cooking. You'll be more focused on those healthier recipes. In terms of going out, yes, we go out for dinner. I'll have an entree size. Generally, I can't finish an entree size, so my husband gets the leftovers. Very rarely can I finish a whole meal. I suppose like with family functions too, or friends and family, they are now used to me. They now know can I say how important supportive family and friends are? That they are, as much as the team here are crucial in making sure you're on the right track, my family and my close family and my friends hold me accountable as well. So they've been super supportive right from the get-go. And I know somebody touched on before about some people don't tell people they've had the surgery. Initially, when I was making the decision to have the surgery, only my husband, my mum, my dad, and my son knew that, and my sister. That was it, because I just felt it was such a personal decision to make that I only wanted those people who knew me the best to help me make that decision. And then after we'd made the decision that this is what we wanted to do, once I started telling everybody else, I had not one negative comment. And I know that some people may, because I have a friend who's had not so positive response from family and friends. But for me, I'm very blessed that I've had amazing support from family and friends, and you need that. You need that because it is a very emotional journey. It is you're very emotional the first 6 weeks after, and then learning to eat, learning to know what you can and can't eat. 14 months later, it's the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. Never did I think that I could. I am normal. I feel like I'm normal. I can shop in a normal clothes shop. I am not the biggest size in a normal clothes shop anymore. I'll go in and pick an item up, and the shop will sit and go, put that back, that's too big, because I'm still learning what's the size for me. But best thing, I'm so passionate about this surgery. I'm so passionate about, raising awareness and just, giving people the information to make the decision, because I know how important it was for me. You have the professionals, but to hear the personal stories, to hear what worked for somebody and what didn't work for somebody else, or, you just crave all that information when you're trying to make a decision, and even afterwards. So, hands down, the best thing I've ever done in my life. I wish I'd done it sooner, but then again, everything happens when it's supposed to happen, and it happens when the time is right for you. So, and you have to be equipped to handle it. You've got to be equipped to make the change, because it is a big lifestyle change. No doubt about it. It's a huge lifestyle change, but one that you'll never regret for the rest of your life. Yeah. Anybody have any questions?
Awesome, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Leanne. Thank you. If you follow, like I do occasionally, Leanne's cooking pics on Instagram looks so amazing. In fact, we probably should have you involved in our next cooking session. We even do things like that. We do cooking classes for patients. I think you've been to one of our cooking classes. There'll be more to come. We love doing things like that. We do pretty much almost everything except cook your food for you. And actually, even that's part of something that we're planning to kick off, and that is a food program where you can have your food that is part of your program just for the first couple of months to learn a little bit about portion control as well. Tonight's been a very female-dominated group of presenters, so we need to change the pace a little bit for our last presenter. We've got two more presenters. But just before I do that, a couple of things that we haven't touched on tonight are some of the other medical conditions that we see significantly reduced and resolved post-weight loss surgery, and sleep apnea is one of them. We see a lot of patients with severe sleep apnea, and many of them don't even know it, don't even have that awareness. If you're not already sleeping with a CPAP machine, that you're a heavy snorer and have poor sleep and poor energy during the day, that's something that we see drastically alter even within 2 weeks after surgery. The resolution of type 2 diabetes is obviously a key factor that we really love to see, that blood pressure medication dropping, cholesterol changing, all of those things are key things. We see a lot of people from younger patients, for example, who've got issues with infertility and falling pregnant, and weight loss surgery can be absolutely the one thing that they can use to then eventually fall pregnant and have achieve successful healthy pregnancies. So many different health and medical reasons why we offer weight loss surgery, and what we see in terms of the benefits are just astounding. And my next guest, Richard, who's really part of our family now, he's presented so many times. Love having him here to present. In terms of medical resolution of comorbid conditions, he's an absolute textbook case of just phenomenal results. Please make Richard welcome to present his story to you.
Yeah, that's exactly my story. I had multiple medical issues, and I had a real crossroad, I suppose, experience when I was diagnosed with a pre-cancer condition. And I'm a single dad, and I've brought up my 14-year-old son since he was 4 on my own. And the biggest fear that I had was that if that pre-cancer condition that I had developed into cancer, what would become of my son? And that literally kept me awake at night. I was so disturbed and concerned about that. And I actually went to my GP with the suggestion of what about having the sleeve surgery for this condition. So it wasn't, and yes, I was overweight. I've lost 38 kilos since September the 19th last year. So it's only 5 months for me. The first 2 months were just unbelievable, 20 kilos in 2 months. But the most exciting thing for me was that in that first 2 months, losing 20 kilos, when I went to my GP and had all my blood tests, I came off 5 out of the 7 medications that I was on in just 2 months. And I was so excited for my son's perspective as much as it was for me. And the comment that I made to Dr. Adib when I came back after, like for my first follow-up session with him, and this summarises my whole passion about what I've done, is that not only did he add years to my life, but he added life to my years as well. I was actually able to do something with my time. And particularly being a parent, and especially being a solo parent, the things that I can now do with my son that I couldn't do before, it's me dragging him down to the beach to kick the footy and to play cricket now instead of vice versa. And he's sick of that. And it was only a couple of weeks ago, he said to me, one morning he came into my bedroom and he said, "Dad, I've just realised that I haven't heard you snore for months." And then it sort of clicked that obviously I think the whole snoring thing's all a farce. I never heard it, so I don't reckon it happens. But he assures me that it's not happening now. And obviously he's really excited. And look, let's keep this in balance. There are downsides. My new wardrobe's cost me a fortune, an absolute fortune. But the op shop loves me because I go there and I get a few shirts and whatever, and they know that in about 3 weeks I'll be back to get smaller ones. And that's literally, and I know I say that joke, it's actually true. That is 100% true. I've gone from I was size 42 in trousers, and I just the other day bought a new pair of jeans and they're size 32. So that's 5 sizes. So that's 10 inches. I was talking to my mum about that, who does a lot of making clothes. So that's like that much less elastic in a pair of trousers. You know, that's a lot. So that my journey's been more focused on the health benefits and also the, I guess, the lifestyle benefits. And like really life is just so much different for me now. And I don't regret for a minute. I didn't come to one of these sessions because as soon as my GP said that it was a good idea, I was on the phone making an appointment and I was here scheduling my surgery as quick as I could. So I didn't have the here. Now, one of the things that hasn't been touched on, and Felicity may well be going to touch on that later, but the kind of turning point for me was when I discovered that I could, because I've just been through, out of the last 10 years, 8 of those years I've been involved in family court litigation. So I've had ups and downs with work, and the expense is just absolutely, I don't even want to think about how much it's cost me. But because of that, my financial situation was pretty challenged. But when I found out that I could, because of the medical conditions that I had, I was able to have the early release of my super to fund the surgery. That made the world of difference for me, and that was just it. I was, yep, I'm in. And so that's how I funded it. Now, getting onto some of the really practical stuff, which you may well be interested in, I went into hospital on Friday and I was operated on Friday morning, and I went home just after lunch on Sunday, and the next day, Monday morning, I had this profound experience. I was halfway through my morning walk at 6 o'clock, walking along the beach, 3 days after I just had 3/4 of my stomach removed. And I stopped and thought, is this real? It's Monday, and on Friday, I had major surgery. And that's literally what happens. And I've got 5, the largest cut is about that big, and around my stomach. And it's just so many positives. And it doesn't matter how hard I try, I can't think of too many negatives. So that was that. The other thing is, I'm a wuss. I'm an absolute pain girl. I hate pain.
I told you if you were a girl, you'd be strong. So he's a boy.
Oh. Okay, so I'm avoid pain. But seriously, they sent me home with this box of some sort of prescription painkillers. That box is still sealed, sitting in my medicine cabinet at home. All I've had is, I had one of those morphine pumps. The only time I used that was they pumped some gas into you to expand the abdominal cavity during the surgery. And some of that gas got caught in my shoulder. I don't know how that happens, but that was pretty uncomfortable. But I think I had 2 shots of the morphine, and they put some hot packs and stuff on that, and that went away pretty quickly. The only other unpleasant part was the morning after the surgery, they wheeled you down to the radiology department to have an X-ray to swallow some, is that barium?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's disgusting stuff, but don't let that put you off. And I had that stuff, but because I'd had a lot of swelling, it was really difficult to swallow that. And what they were trying to do was take an X-ray to make sure that this around here wasn't leaking. So I had to swallow this stuff. And because my throat was quite swollen, it was a very small gap for that to get through. So they got this X-ray machine sitting here, and the guy's saying to me, okay, you're just going to have to dry swallow until it goes down. So I had this, and I'll go. And that was just horrible. But if you think, I'm getting a nod from down the back. But when you think about that is the worst part, that's not a bad procedure, is it? And in terms of how much you can eat, I was at an all-day seminar yesterday, and this mindful eating, which has been fantastic. Warren's my psychologist, and he's helped me with that. And Peter, he's my dietitian. It's because I'm scared of women, so I have all the male assistants. But they've been really helpful with me for this mindful eating. And like, I was one of the people at the start. I've got a background as a counsellor, and I thought, well, load of crap, you don't need a psychologist. What are they going on about? Oh, I'll tell you what you do. And I'm really glad that I've got one, because he's been fantastic. But yeah, eat completely differently. And that actually takes a lot of getting used to. And yesterday I was at a seminar, and the one thing that I can't tolerate very well is bread. It just doesn't go down well for me. And they served sandwiches for lunch yesterday. And one of the things that I found I have to do at home is I found that I was vomiting a bit after meals. And then I realised that I was actually, Dylan and I was sitting having our dinner watching TV. And what we had to do was stop and mindfully eat. So we had to sit at the table, switch off all the distractions so that I could monitor how much I was eating and the speed at which I was eating it. And yesterday, when they cut, I used to nearly crucify my mum when she did it with my sandwiches. You know, when you cut the two ways like that, you get these puffy little, tiny little sandwiches. I hate them. And I used to get really cross. But, and yesterday they had the little puffy little triangle sandwiches. And I had 3 of those and 2 pieces of about. And because I ate them while I was talking to people and stuff, I felt like, I've eaten a bit much. Fortunately, I'm in tune with that now, and I get a trigger fairly quickly, and I start sweating and get a bit hot and stuff like that when I know that I've eaten too much, and it's a little bit uncomfortable for a while. But that's how it is. I'm a real foodie. I love cooking. I've done cooking courses, and I cook extravagantly. That's been a challenge, but I found now that as my compensation for that, I love wine, and because I can't have the really good foods, I actually buy. So I just have a liquid diet now. So what I do is I actually buy, and even the wine, I can't drink very much of it. If anybody wants to take me out, I'm the cheapest drunk.
I'm just going to marry you, okay? You had me at food, food and wine.
Yeah. And I have 1 glass of wine, and I'm kind of, I was going to say anybody's, it's not the right audience to say that, but I'm, I really don't respond too well, but I buy good quality wine now, and I have a small, really tasty wine, and that's my kind of indulgence where I get my big flavour, like my big taste and my enjoyment of flavour. And I just have a small glass, but that satisfies my need for something, kind of tasty. So that's where I'm now. My objective is to get off my last 2 lots of medication. I don't think that's too far away. My goal from the 19th of September, when I came in and saw Dr. Adib on my first before surgery, I said to him, how much, because I'm from Melbourne originally, I was going to Melbourne for Christmas, and I said, how much do you reckon I can lose by Christmas, which was 3 months, so this was in September. Kilos? No way. There's no way in 3 months I can lose 30 kilos. And anyway, I lost the first 20 incredibly quickly, and I killed on after the 19th of September. Now, the last few, had slowed down, like this rapid weight loss, and then it's kind of slowed down a bit the last little while. But I still think 38 kilograms in September is a fairly good, I'm pretty happy with that. really passionate now about, because seriously, it's not just individually, as a society. And I'm an ambassador now. I've experienced the differences that it's made, and it is just do whatever it takes, is what I would say. It will change your life, make you enjoy your life, and I finish because I know I ramble on for probably too long, but the thing to remember is you don't just want to add years to your life, you want to add life to your years. Make them productive and usable. And I reckon this is the best way to do it.
Yeah. Good job, buddy.
Any questions? Sorry.
Phone number.
That'd be
just so happens, no. So any questions?
We also run out of free dating sites.
Yeah.
Questions? No questions?
I'll be around afterwards anyway if you want.
Thank you so much. Right. Just so that you know, we absolutely do not censor guest speakers. It's free reign, they say what they like. So fantastic, and I think that's awesome, isn't it? You know, that they can share the real story. It's what's and all. Whatever happens, you get to hear it all. So thank you so much. Love having both Leanne and Richard here tonight. Melanie tonight is actually just going to give us a bit of an intro into some of the frequently asked questions that she gets on the front desk from patients, just to give you a bit of a feel for what her role's about, and also our opportunity to introduce you to her as well tonight. Please make Melanie welcome.
Well, now that's my before photo. We all love our before photos now, don't we? The sort of used to hide from before, and now we're like, oh, Chrissy, look at me. I can't wait to show you before photos. I came to, well, I wasn't as brave as you, so congratulations everybody for coming. I came here not under duress, but under false pretenses. My auntie said she was looking at having weight loss surgery, and I did the old eye roll. And I think, like most of you, I had all these questions, or I had all these misconceptions about weight loss surgery. So she said that, I'm looking at having a lap band. I rolled my eyes and went, another diet. We've done all the diets, we've done all carbs and the no carbs, and the all protein and the no protein, and the pineapple diet, and the cabbage soup diet, and the meal replacement, and the shakes, etc., etc. So anyone who has been overweight has dieted, and that was one frustrating thing when people say, why don't you just go on a diet? Yeah, because I don't do one every month. You know, I don't tear out that lose 10 kilos in 10 weeks and get a bikini body or whatever it is. There's many miracle sort of diets out there. So most overweight people have dieted. We just can't sustain it for the rest of our lives. And when you do diet, you lose 10 kilos, you put 12 back on. You lose 20, you put 30 back on. That was the merry-go-round. So when she said she was looking at this, I was like, yeah, okay. Another thing that won't work. Another diet we're going to go on. Well, isn't that only for really rich people, or isn't that only for the super morbidly obese? I thought, oh yeah, I've heard of weight loss surgery, isn't it? That guy, Dr. Phil, had to cut out of his house, and I'll never be able to have alcohol again. You've got to live off a fluid diet. So there are all these sort of misconceptions or things I wasn't sure about or that I'd heard through, because we talked about before, social media or through the grapevine or someone's friend's butcher's brother's uncle's neighbour up the street. They had that done. So I didn't have a lot of the facts, so to speak. Before I came, I had some questions. Now, depending on how I got to coming to a seminar, she asked me to come with her in case she got lost, which was really nice. As you can see from that picture, she just wanted me to come because she knew that it would benefit me. So we've since both gone on to have the surgery, and that photo of me is I'm 50 kilos heavier. So we're on to thank you. That's very nice, thank you. So my questions were, firstly, I'm like, dietitian. They want me to see a dietitian. I'm like, food police. I don't need someone to sit me down and tell me what to eat. I know what to eat. I just don't want to eat lettuce and carrots. Thank you very much. So I was concerned about the dietitian. Then I heard about a pre-surgery diet. I thought, well, if I could live off shakes, I wouldn't need a bloody lap band. So that concerned me as well. Then I heard about the psychologist. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so crazy. They're not going to let me have anything done. And I wasn't sure, why do you see a psychologist? Are they going to sit down and talk about your horrible childhood? Were you breastfed as a baby? Do you have issues with your mother? Why do you see a psychologist? So as I went along, I actually found out. See, they clearly let crazy people have surgery. So I found out that it's just dealing with different things. And same with the dietitian. It was when I sort of get a stall in my weight loss, I found out I needed extra protein. So they're not the food police. No one's shaking their finger at you, telling you just to eat lettuce and
Same with the psychologist. It's a great help as you go through stages. I remember Warren saying to me once, you have to throw out all those clothes that don't fit you anymore. I was like, you're a maniac, because we're going to throw out all my clothes. People don't, especially women, we don't throw out clothes. Even if they don't fit us, we keep them with the tag sticking out because it says size 12, and if someone ever comes into my wardrobe, I want them to think that I wear that. So, it doesn't fit me, but if anyone ever goes there or anyone wants to borrow something, I pull that out. Would you like to borrow this dress? So that's why you keep your clothes. So when you said to me, you need to get rid of things that don't fit you anymore, I was like, yeah, sure. That was the most liberating thing I ever did, to get rid of those like size 22, which is what I was at my biggest. To get rid of that, to go, I'm really, really never going to go back there. And it's also admitting that you've not only succeeded, it's like, oh, yeah, hang on, this diet, I haven't gone back to that size. I've gotten a bit smaller and a bit smaller each time. So you might think, why see a dietitian, why see a psychologist? It's not all about probably what we think or telling us all that we're crazy and we should eat lettuce. There's lots of little tips and tricks they give you as you're going along. And same with Who's Weight Loss Surgery for. So before I came here, I'm a beauty therapist by trade, my before job. And so I used to talk to many, many people all the time. And I love women, I work with women that, man, they tell gossip and they tell lies. So they would love to, you know, I'd say, oh, I'm thinking of having, oh, really? So I was getting a little bit of negative, and I don't think it's that they weren't supportive. They just didn't understand, like I didn't either. I had a friend who said years ago she was thinking of getting a lap band. I'm like, really? Oh, does that mean you can't have solid food ever again? Don't you just eat baby food? I saw that on the current thing. Again, it's just that I was uneducated and I didn't know any different. So once I did have it done, I stopped telling people. I thought, no, because I'm doing this. I came to a seminar and all those questions I had beforehand. Can I drink alcohol? Will I ever be able to go out to dinner again? Can I eat solid food? All of that was answered when I came with my auntie in case she got lost. So when I came that night, it absolutely changed my view of everything. I couldn't get to that desk quick enough and get signed up. So it was just, but this is it. This is the one for me. And I was terrified about having it done, not about the surgery or about going under or about being in pain. I was terrified it wouldn't work because I've done every single diet. And every time I go on a diet, I'd tell 50 patients or 50 clients I'd see a week, I'm on the pineapple diet and I'm going to lose so much weight. And I'd just be a foul cranky bitch for a week and then I'd put all the weight back on that I'd lost in that time. So I thought if I tell everyone I'm doing another thing, they'll be like, here she goes again. And she'll put it all back on. So I thought, I'm just not going to tell people. I'm just going to keep it to myself. Not that, and I was a little bit ashamed, but I'm a bit embarrassed. I've gotten to the point where I thought I really need some help. I was a bit embarrassed I'd ask someone for help because I was always the person everyone came to for help. I'm like, okay, all right. So I stopped telling people, and then as I was losing weight and people would ask me, I was so damn happy and excited. And I thought, why didn't someone tell me about this years ago? I told everyone. I'd tell Joe Blow, the butcher, as he was putting the groceries through. I didn't care. I told everyone. Because I was, as I said, I wanted people to share it too and to know that it is for the normal person. It is for, you know, the mums at school I talked to. There'd been so many issues, probably like most of you. You go to people who haven't been big don't understand. You go to school and they have, you know, functions at school and they pull out these little chairs that the kids sit on. I was terrified of those bloody children. I'm not sitting on that chair. It's that big. And I thought if I broke it, my kid would just be teased for the rest of their life. And same with my daughter, always wanted to go horse riding. And I used to tell her I was terrified of horses. It was just I was terrified of sitting on a horse and them asking me to get off or taking horse riding. They're like, not for you, lady. So it's little things like that that people who haven't been big don't understand. The same with going to a restaurant. I say normal sized person. I don't like to say that, normal sized person. Normal sized person goes in. First thing they do is look at the menu. First thing I used to do when I walked in the door was look at the chairs. Well, to start with, if they're wraparound chairs with a handle, I'm going to have to squeeze my hips in. If it's a little plastic one, I was like, oh, don't move, just sit on it and don't move, because you feel those legs wobble underneath you. I was worried it was going to break. But things like that, I think unless you've been in that situation, you don't understand at all. So my food of choice, and we were talking about, someone said food is an addiction before. Michelle did. When she said that, I just wanted to put up my hand and go, yes, my name's Melanie and I'm a food addict. I was almost oblivious to what I did eat, or I would deny it. Like if I ate in the car, it didn't count. If I ate in the car and threw away the packet, it really didn't count. Because I hadn't eaten for 5 hours, what I ate next, that didn't count because I hadn't eaten for 5 hours. So technically I hadn't eaten. And that was how I would just get through it in my mind. That's how I coped, because if I actually looked at what I ate, it was really depressing. So I just didn't. My drink of choice, I don't know if any of you know Zarrafas, I'd have the biggest drink they do, which is called a grande, and I had a white chocolate mocha on full cream milk. So it was this big, it was coffee, It was chocolate syrup, cream on top, chocolate sprinkles on top of that, and I liked the sugar in my coffee, and in my eyes, that was 3 coffees, so I'd have 3. That was my drink nearly every day. So, but that didn't count because it's a drink. Where the calories in that drink now is probably equivalent to what I'd have in 2 or 3 days. And I was having one of those as my didn't count honey coffee type drink. And it come through the drive-through, so it didn't count at all. So that was how I justify that. I always tell people the stories about it used to make me laugh with the Tim Tams. That's my favourite one. Turned over, and when they eventually I'd had the surgery, they were talking about calories. So I just didn't look at calories because I was like, yeah, don't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm fat whether I diet or I don't, so I don't care. I can eat lettuce for a week and lose 1 kilo, and I'm all depressed, so I'll just eat whatever I want. So I looked over and looked at the calories on the back of the Tim Tam pack, and it has calories per serve and calories per packet. And I went, oh, I always thought a packet was a serve. It was to me, because I would eat the whole packet. So a serve is actually 2 Tim Tams. So now I only have half a serve, which is even better because I just had 1. But yeah, to me, a serve was a whole packet. Same with chips, the family-sized packet of chips. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to share those with my family. I'm going to get 2 if they want some, because that's my serve. Whereas now, if I want chips, I'll have the little snack-sized ones that you get. So don't think you have to go without. You can still have treats. You can still feel like something. You can still have your little treats. But also, the biggest thing for me has been satiety. I was one of those people that never felt satisfied. I said, it has to be another food group. Because I'd be eating that last mouthful of dinner, which was a very large dinner. I'd be thinking, what do I feel like? I must be something minty. I'm like, yeah, I might be saying, oh, some after dinner mints. I'd have a couple of those. And I'm like, nah, something crunchy. Have some nuts. No, I'd have some nuts. Ice cream. Then I'd have ice cream. And I'd be standing at the cupboard with literally the ice cream still all around my gob going, chips, think it's something salty. I want something salty. Only when I felt violently ill at the end of all that would I go, oh yeah, I'm happy now, I'm satisfied. The feeling of being full and the feeling of sick is very, very different. Now the feeling of full is so, it registers so much quicker and you feel it. I'm not constantly looking for what is it that I want, what is it that I'm craving, what is going to make me feel better or fill me up. Because none of them actually did any of that, they just made me feel sick. And to me, when I felt sick, that's when I was full. Whereas I found out now the feeling of full is very, very sudden and I stop. Because if I do eat one more bite, I will feel sick. And you don't want to feel sick. I've learned now the feeling of full is actually really satisfying. So that feeling of full and being satisfied is absolutely fantastic. I think that's a quick little brief. Hope that's most of your questions answered. They were my questions that I was concerned about when I came, or the questions I had. So anything I didn't cover, any more
Did you have
questions?
the band, did you say, or did you have the sleeve?
Okay.
Sorry.
So I was going to do the short version, right? I had a band.
It's for the viewers at home.
I started with a band. I had a band over 5 years ago. Unfortunately, I was one of the complications, as Michelle talked about. I got a slip. So 2 years into the band, I ended up with a slip. And that because I just wasn't prepared to sign up for a sleeve. I'm like, you want me to do this forever? No way. I couldn't diet for 4 weeks, and I was not prepared to sign up to anything forever. So that's why I said, yeah, I'll have a band, because I might just not like this, and I was thinking in the back of my mind, I'm probably not going to do any good anyway. So that's why I decided on the band. When the band slipped, they said, can you reposition or you can have the sleeve? I'm like, oh, sign me up for the sleeve. I wanted it forever. I was so pleased with where I was, and I was so satisfied with the small portions, and I realised that I could eat and drink still and live a normal life. So I was really happy, and I just wanted to sign up forever. So that's when I went to the sleeve. So I've had both. I'm greedy. The only thing I haven't had here that we offer is the Opera. So yeah, so I think it's good. I can really talk to people and help them whichever way they're thinking with my experience, because they are quite different. Yes, they both do basically make the portion that you have smaller, but they are a bit different in the way they operate and the way you feel. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody, and thank you very much for joining us tonight. In your paper bags, please take the time to go through all the information in there. You'll find there's a magazine that's got all sorts of articles in there that are worthwhile reading, including some stories of some of our own patients in there. I know one thing that everyone wants to know about is cost, fees, how does that work? We're very happy to support patients who need to go through the early access of superannuation and release of funds from super, so that they can be supported to have their surgery. I think it's one of the best things that we could do to help people, so that they're not, they have a financial solution and there is a way forward. And one other thing that I will tell you that I've seen a lot through our the many years that we've worked in this clinic, and it's something that I only just became aware of just a few years ago, is that your financial health and wellness is also something that you can transform through weight loss. And I've seen patients totally change direction with their careers and go after things that they never thought were possible. So just think about the opportunities are endless. And just before I close, just refer back to those few little points that you put down on your notepad about where you'd like to see yourself in 12 months' time. And if you are really thinking you have had enough, enough is enough, and you can lose weight forever, think back to those points on your notepaper, and I can promise you those will become your reality. We would love to help you on your journey. I know this team are probably just the most incredible people you could have to support you along the way. So for those of you at home watching us tonight, and for any of you, we would really be more than happy to look after you. If you'd like to chat to any of the team, they're here to chat now. If you'd like to take that first step tonight and make an appointment, we're more than happy to help you out. And many thanks to all of you for joining us tonight. Thank you.
That's right. Oh, anytime.
I'm interested in the cost more than what I have to do. And, obviously, we're retired, where I am, and so, and I don't want to. Oh no, but they're Rhonda. I don't want to access that super, so I'm.
Have you got private health insurance?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that will really reduce your cost significantly. So which procedure were you looking at?
At the banding.
The band? So
Yeah.